As someone who has looked closely into how my own brain works, I've come to realize that my depression and chronic procrastination aren't character flaws. They are deeply intertwined in a chemical tug of war inside my head. When I'm stuck on the couch, unable to start a simple task, it's not because I'm lazy. My brain chemistry is actively working against me. Here is how I experience and understand the chemical connection between my depression and procrastination. My dopamine deficit, the death of motivation. I used to think dopamine was just about pleasure, but I've learned it's actually the molecule of anticipation and motivation. It's the chemical spark that tells my brain, if you do this work now, it will pay off later. When my depression hits, my dopamine production or reception plummets, I experience anhedonia, a flat, numbing inability to feel anticipation or joy. How it forces me to procrastinate. Because my dopamine is baseline low, a looming task like folding laundry or writing a report looks like a barren desert to my brain. It promises zero chemical reward. To survive the drought, my brain desperately hijacks my focus and directs me towards scrolling social media or playing a game. I am procrastinating because my brain is starving for an immediate drip of dopamine that the actual task just can't provide right now. Serotonin and my emotional short-circuit procrastination isn't a time management problem for me. It's an emotional regulation problem. This is where serotonin comes in. When my depression hits, my serotonin levels are unstable, leaving me feeling emotionally fragile, anxious, and easily overwhelmed. How it forces me to procrastinate. When I look at a difficult task, my low serotonin means I can't properly regulate the spike of anxiety or fear of failure that bubbles up. The task feels like a mountain. To protect myself from that sudden wave of negative emotion, I push the task away. Procrastinating gives me a fleeting moment of relief from the anxiety, even though I know the guilt will bite me later. The battle in my brain, amygdala versus prefrontal cortex. I can actually feel the physical disconnect in my head when I'm avoidance moding. It's a literal power struggle between two regions of my brain, heavily influenced by my depleted neurotransmitters. My prefrontal cortex, the rational manager, wants to plan, focus, and look at long-term goals, but depression saps its energy, leaving it running on fumes. My amygdala, the alarm system, is hyperactive due to my depression and stress. Because my rational prefrontal cortex lacks the chemical fuel, dopamine and serotonin, to assert dominance, my amygdala takes over. It perceives a work deadline not as a task, but as an actual existential threat. My brain enters a fight or flight state, and it chooses flight, which manifests as picking up my phone and walking away from my responsibilities. The cortisol trap. Living with depression means my body is under constant, low-grade chronic stress, keeping my cortisol levels painfully high. This flood of cortisol causes mental fog, impairs my memory, and makes decision-making exhausting. It creates an exhausting, self-perpetuating loop that I find myself trapped in all the time. My depression to high cortisol, brain fog to task, feels impossible, leads to I procrastinate, leads to I feel guilty, leads to my stress increases, leads to my depression deepens, greater than my conclusion. When I am depressed, procrastination is a symptom, not a choice. My brain chemistry has stripped away the very tools I need to regulate my emotions and initiate action. Understanding this doesn't instantly cure my paralysis, but it allows me to meet myself with self-compassion instead of shame while I work through the chemical fog.
I look at the clock, it's ticking away. Another promise made to yesterday. They call it lazy, tell me to try, but there is a war going on inside my mind. I'm sitting on the couch, heavy as lead, staring at the screen, trapped inside my head. It's not a lack of discipline, it's not a lack of will, it's just the chemical drought that keeps me standing still. My dopamine is baseline low, no spark to tell me where to go. The things I need to finish now look like a desert anyhow. So I grab my phone to chase a spark, a temporary light to hide the dark. My serotonin is out of line, making every mountain hard to climb. Procrastination isn't time, mismanaged or lost. It's just my fragile feelings counting the cost. High cortisol, brain fog, task feels impossible. I procrastinate, stuck in the bug. I feel guilty, my stress increases deep in the night. The loop spins around till I lose all my light. But I'm learning to see this isn't a choice, it's a chemical storm silencing my voice. My brain stripped the tools I needed to start, leaving a heavy fall over my heart. So I will sit right here till the mist starts to clear, trading the road shape for kindness, my dear. It's a symptom, not a flaw, that keeps me in place, and I will walk through the fog at my own steady pace.